high flow air filter, Vance and Hines fuel pack. Does it make a difference? Let's find out. Alright everybody, what is up? As always, thanks for stopping by to check out today's video. If you're stopping by, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. Make sure you follow us on Instagram too, @themotojohn. Alright, so today we're talking about a few new parts that I put on the Sportster. We've got the Arlen Ness high flow air filter, and we have the Vance and Hines fuel pack to match up the airflow and the exhaust, the fuel, and all that good stuff. So starting off with the high flow air filter, pretty easy install. We just take the old one off, toss the new one on. It's a nice simple bolt-on piece there to help increase some of that airflow, help it breathe a little better. And then of course we matched it up to the Vance and Hines fuel pack. I've got that plugged in over here. I left it on the bike. I guess some people take it off, some people leave it on, but you can see it's plugged in right there. So we've got all this stuff installed, we've got it paired up, we've got it matched up. All of this was pretty easy installation. Like I said, remove the old one here, toss the new one on, bolt it on, you're good to go. Fuel pack also easy, takes you right through, match it up to the bike, to the Bluetooth, pair up your high flow with the exhaust you have, which I have as the Vance and Hines, and you're all set and good to go. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit more on kind of the performance and what happened to it now that we've got all this stuff installed on the Sportster. And the reason that I want to talk about it is because I had a lot of questions about it myself when I was researching into this. I know a lot of my friends that ride Sportsters had questions about it. So let me know what everyone out there's experience has been with upgraded air and fuel management systems on your bikes, whether it's a Sportster, Softail, whatever it is you have. Let me know how your experience went. So like I said, I was very curious as to how this was going to kind of help the bike or the performance, because obviously it's a lot of money. So I did a lot of research before this. Took me about 2 years to finally follow through with upgrading the airflow and the fuel pack. So we're going to hop on the bike. We're going to talk a little bit about it, my experience with it so far, and some of the questions that I've had from others that hopefully I can answer about these couple of items. So let's hop on the bike. Alright, so we hopped out on the Sportster on the streets of Philly, and I'm excited to talk about this one. The Arlen Ness high flow air filter and the Vance and Hines fuel pack. So like I said, not an install or anything like that. I already got it on, didn't record any of that. There's plenty of good install videos out there on how these two things work and how to install them and all that good stuff. So you can check some of those out if you want. My main thing is I just wanted to talk a little bit about the functionality or the performance, or did it work and was it worth it? And so before I get started, like I said, anybody using these things, any kind of aftermarket high flow air filter in any tuner, I need you to drop your comments down there on how that's working out for you and any performance increases that you noticed and how you think it's going and was it worth it. Because for a while I had people telling me like nonstop, yo, you gotta get the airflow, you gotta get the tuner, airflow tuner, airflow tuner. I'm like, alright, like it's coming, like one of these days I'm gonna get it. This stuff is expensive, obviously. Like all the other stuff, like, I mean, everything you do to your bike is so expensive, there's no avoiding it. But anyways, I mean, this one's like really expensive. The airflow, the tuner. So obviously I did a lot of research before I purchased the two items, because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to see good reviews. I watched a lot of videos. I wanted to be an informed consumer, like I'm sure everybody does, looks for review of all the different parts and stuff you put on your bikes to make sure it's worth it. So I finally pulled the trigger. Like I said, we got it installed. I've been riding it around a little bit, trying to collect my thoughts on kind of the changes that I'm feeling in the performance, and kind of let everybody know what I think about some of these changes and how it's impacted the bike a little bit so far. And a lot of my friends were asking me too that ride Sportsters. They were like, hey, you know, I'm interested in doing this, but it's super expensive, you know, I don't want to do it if it's not worth it. And the one thing I noticed is there was a lot of install videos on it, but I didn't really find much feedback on like the actual performance or changes that took place. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to put this out there, is to give you kind of like my honest opinion about the two items, honest impact of the bike. So if anybody else out there finds it and it helps them, great, that's awesome. And so like I said, I was a little skeptical at first, you know. I'm like, it's just a simple plug-in piece, you know, connects up to the computer system, the high flow air filter, you just bolt it on. I'm like, is this really gonna have like the impact that people are saying? Like I said, I don't want to spend all this money and not have it be worth the cost that it was to put on there and the time to install it too. So obviously, like I said, from everything that I've seen, was great reviews on these two items. The main point, the main gist of this is we are, you know, we're increasing the airflow, matching it up with the fuel to get that running nice and clean and matched up perfectly, to hopefully create a little bit of performance boost. Obviously, if we can breathe in more air, take in more air, displace more air, get the fuel matched up with it properly with the ECU system and all that good type of stuff, obviously we're going to hopefully create a little more horsepower, a little more torque. So kicking it off with some of the first stuff that I noticed once I took it out for the first time, before I even took it out actually, I basically just turned it on, you know, gave it a few revs. And immediately opening up that airway, I could tell the throttle was just immediately going to be more responsive. Even just from revving it up a few times, I could feel just a little bit quicker snap off that throttle. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be interesting once we get out there on it. So then that was kind of one of the first things that I noticed. The next thing I noticed, you know, I start going along, I'm in first, I take off. I'm like, okay, definitely like a little bit more responsive, obviously, in first. So then I crack it pretty hard in first, and it definitely got up and went a little bit quicker than normal. I mean, you could just feel less restriction on the throttle. You could feel more airflow coming in, and it definitely had a little more snap, a little more get up, a little more power coming through there. So that was kind of starting off in like first. So then I'm like, all right, you know, we're going to take it up. We're going to shift into second. It's shifting a little bit cleaner. It's giving me a little bit smoother transition in between gears. So like I said, we're going along, you know, first working through some gears. I'm giving it a little crack like this, you know, winding it up more, you know, really cracking on the throttle. And the response is definitely there. It's much more responsive now. So I'll be in second, 3800. Give it a little crack, some stuff like that into third, and I'm like, all right, so I mean, we're definitely seeing, you know, more power, more responsiveness up through first to second to third, so that's good. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't any like crazy enhancement or anything like that. I'm not saying this is gonna like completely change your bike or anything, but it's just nice to have a little bit more effortless, comfortable power through some of those gears. One of the things that I really started to notice right away. I'm like, okay, this is good, this is cool, I like this. You know, I got a little more crack of the throttle, a little more kick through some of these gears. That's awesome down low. Definitely making a difference there. But again, let me take it back just a second. Like I said, I'm not saying this is going to turn you into some monster, super fast performance Sportster, obviously. It's just airflow pipes tuned to the ECU with the fuel pack, not dynoed or anything. I have no idea how much power it's putting out, stuff like that. I'm just saying, from what I can kind of hear and notice and feel, there's definitely some performance enhancement there. So those were the first couple things I noticed. Like I said, throttle more responsive, a little more kick, a little more pull through some of those lower gears, first, second, and third. So then I got out on the highway. So then, you know, I'm working up into fourth and fifth. And the cool thing that I started to notice, and this was like through all the gears, of course, is with more air coming in now, I'm able to climb up into some of these RPM ranges a little bit higher than I was before the power starts to level off. So now I'm really able to kind of stick through some of these gears longer before the drop off. And I think that's actually one of the biggest things that I've noticed as I was able to get out on the highway. I'm like, okay, let me take it up, you know, we're getting up there, we're getting up into third. Okay, let me get up into fourth, let me see how high I can push it there. So to give you a little reference, finally get up into fifth gear on the highway. Cruising along. I get up into 70 and I'm about at 3,200 RPMs. Now that was good because to give you some reference, when I was traveling last summer on some highway, when I was around 70 with my old setup, I was around 3,600 RPMs. So you can tell with just this little change, it's working, it's getting up into those higher speeds a little bit easier. It's a little bit more effortless to climb through the gears, to get up into some of those higher speeds and then stay there consistently too. Like I had it held at 70, maintaining like 3,200 RPMs, where it used to be maintaining 70, like, you know, 3,600 RPMs. So that was cool. It definitely made it a little bit more comfortable at some of those highway cruising speeds. A little bit more efficient getting up into those higher speeds, keeping the RPMs a little bit lower with just that simple upgrade of the tune and the high flow air filter. So now the big question that I was getting from some of my friends and other people, and the thing that I was really looking for myself online, is the question, was it worth it? But before I answer that, let me just say, with stock and just the exhaust, I was still completely satisfied with what I need the Sportster for. Driving around town, went across the state on it, completely capable, completely satisfied. The upgrade is not necessary, but with the cost, is it worth it? Yes, I would say it's worth it. But in all seriousness, like I said, fully capable machine and engine even before that. But it is worth it because of some of those main points that I highlighted. And really, like I said, you're going to get some better throttle response. You're going to get a little better pull through all those gears, especially the lower ones, like first, second, into third. You're going to be able to pull on those gears a little bit longer and harder, which gives you a little bit more kind of responsiveness and comfortable abilities when you're in some of these like city situations and need to dart in between somewhere. Like before, I would have to kind of downshift or upshift to get the power that I needed to like make a pass or like duck and dodge in somewhere. Now I kind of know that I have that feeling where I can work up higher into some of these gears and I'm still going to have that power. It's not going to be tapering off a little bit. So those reasons, the responsiveness, a little bit more power, a little bit more torque, and then like I said, you're going to be able to take those gears through those ranges a little bit longer and a little bit more comfortably. You're going to get to some of those higher speeds a little bit more effortlessly. Engine's not going to be working quite as hard. You're pulling in a lot more air than you were previously. And then finally, I don't think I mentioned this, but it just kind of feels like it's running a lot smoother and cleaner, if that makes any sense. I don't know, there's no technical terms there, but the shifting, the ride, the engine, I can tell it's just working a little bit smoother and cleaner, having that air tuned and matched to the fuel. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's worth it. If you got the money and you want to spend on it, upgrade your Sportster, give it a little bit better performance, make it a little more comfortable to access that power, definitely go ahead and do it. But like I said, you're not turning this into some 80, 90 horsepower bike with these things. It's just simple upgrades, make it a little more fun to ride, a little bit more effortless to access some of that power, like I said. So is it worth it? Yeah. Is it a necessity? I don't know. I mean, not really. Am I glad I got it? Yeah, I like it. I like some of the little changes that it's made. Like I said, they're subtle, but I noticed them, and they help me out in some spots, and I'm liking it so far. So with all that said, again, drop it down in the comments. Let me know what everyone's experience has been with high flow air intakes, exhaust upgrades, and the tuners to match it all up. I know, like I said, I hear a lot of good feedback on it. Everybody was yelling at me early on to get it done. I'm like, okay, it's coming, it's coming. A lot of people say that's the first thing they did to their bike and loved it, so drop it down there in the comments. Let me know what everybody thinks about kind of that little performance upgrade of the airflow, the tuner, and the exhaust. So I was going to wrap it up there for today as we come down Ridge Ave in the Roxborough section of Philly, talking about airflows, tuners, exhausts, all those good type of things. So as we wrap it up, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date to everything we got going on. Give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you follow us on Instagram too, @TheMotoJohn. As always, make sure you ride safe out there. It's the Moto John. We'll see y'all on down the road. Peace.